Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Today's episode is brought to you by Real Estate Radio Experts. If you guys want to level up, if you want to get on the right side of your growing your business, which is on the listing side, there's no tool better than radio. It's not as expensive as you think. It's probably cheaper than you think in a lot of markets. I'll tell you, man, we're buying spots. I mean, we're buying spots for like $20 in Florida. And you know, look, we can spend as much as $1,000 in a Dallas or a DC. But again, it's not as expensive as you think. It works. We always shoot for a 3 to 5x return, which means that we want you to triple or 5x whatever cash that you spend. So that's what we shoot for. So if you've been thinking about radio, wait no longer, man. Come on. Summer's here. Listings are happening. Go to realestateradioexperts.com, fill out the getting started sheet, and let's chat. Now, look, today's episode, what we talk about today is tools for you guys, for real estate agents. And this will work for anybody. But it's about some tech stuff. Now, what you're going to hear, I'm going to tell you what we talked about in a second, but this guy, he's got some process that he wanted to sell. Now, when people come on, I don't let him do that, right? Because you guys don't want to be pitched. And he kind of like all through it, he's like, "Oh, well, and we offer that." So I got to tell you, man, I struggled, and you will hear me. I struggled, man, trying to dig nuggets out of this guy. And he wanted to tell me a story, and I said, "No, man, tell us what you learned. You know, tell us how you do it." So what you're going to hear for the first like 18 minutes is me getting frustrated with this guy. And for the first 18 minutes, and I'm not saying don't listen to the first 18, but for the first 18 minutes, yeah, it was a little bit tough. But I'll tell you, at like minute 20, we started to get to it. Right. And I don't know if I just wore him down or what, but we started to get to it. We talk about a bunch of stuff. We talk about, you know, and this is tech stuff, right? We talk about why you should, if on your website, why you should use a WordPress theme. And that's because, you know, search engines like it. We talk about how to use lead magnets. Now, this is important, you know, lead magnets or squeeze pages. And if you don't know what those things are, well, all the more reason to finish this episode. And it's basically lead capture. How do you use your website as a lead capture tool? And I have to tell you, I've looked at hundreds, thousands of real estate websites, guys that are doing 3, 4, 5, 7, 900 transactions, and nobody's doing this well at all. Nobody. You know, this is where internet marketers are killing you guys, and you guys need to be internet marketers. Anyhow, okay. And there's a couple nuggets in there. We talk about, you know, how sellers first enter the process or into the market as a buyer, right? So they want to sell their house, but that's not how they enter the market. They enter first as a buyer to find a replacement. So knowing that, using that psychology of they're entering the market as a buyer, what can you do to, again, capture them, capture that lead, and then obviously sell their house and then help them buy another one. All right. So that's it, man. And again, guys, struggle through that first 18 minutes. You will hear me get frustrated. Don't quit. It's worth, this one's worth going through the whole process. All right, that's it. Hey, let's get to it. Oh, hey, what you're not going to want to do, you don't want to miss future episodes. So I want to send you to my lead magnet. Go to my website, go to superagentslive.com, download my book, and look, you're going to give me your email address. And I'm going to give you my book, right? And and by the way, you guys should be doing that same thing on your website, right? You guys earn traffic or buy traffic out in the marketplace, right? Whether you're posting Craigslist ads or Google pay-per-click or whatever, you're getting them to your site. But then what? You guys should all write an ebook: how to get the top dollar for your house, how to sell your house in 20 days or less, right? Whatever it is, get people's emails. It's valuable. Okay, so do that for me, will you? Go to my site, superagentslife.com. Download the book. Give me your email address because I want to have you guys on my list. I do special things with my audience and or with my list that I don't necessarily do with my audience. Okay, that's it. Sorry about the rant. Let's get to it. Today on the show, I'm thrilled to welcome today's guest. Now, today's guest used to sell real estate. He's not doing that much anymore. He has built something called the Ultimate Website, and it's tools for agents. It's tools to teach you how to capture leads, how to manage those leads once they get in the pipeline, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. What makes the Ultimate Website a website that works? So I'm thrilled to welcome Matt Jones. Hey, Matt, thanks for taking the time out today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So listen, before we get into what you're doing at LCM Success and the Ultimate Website, take a minute, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I came into real estate much like most other agents from a background in something completely different. And in my case, it was the automotive industry. I owned 12 different automotive repair franchises, and did that for 20-something years, and just really wanted something different, wanted something with a lot less moving parts, and thought, you know what, I think the best thing to do would be go into real estate. I like working with people, I like sales, and I like something that depends on just me. And what could be simpler than real estate? And so I went into licensing class like everybody else, and while I'm in licensing class, I'm building myself a business plan and, very methodical about it. Studied everything I could, got all the books I could borrow and scrounge up and read on the subject of how to, best practices of real estate. Really, listen to CDs back in 2002, when this was, there were still cassettes around. So
sure, yeah.
Some of your listeners will remember those, and some CDs, those were around. And so any way I could get any training, and basically came up with a plan. All the experts had lots of ideas how to do it, and the most common ones, and the ones that pretty much all realtors, even today, most realtors today are even using, things like geographic farming, where you find a neighborhood and you say, okay, these 500 houses in this area, I'm going to work, and I'm going to be the agent that everyone recognizes in this market. And the experts all say 500 houses is the magic number. If you've got 500 houses that you're the expert, they're going to generate enough business coming your way that you're going to have more than you can do. So I had, I'm like one of these classic overachiever types. I said, well, gosh, if 500 is good, then 1,500 will be better. So I went and found the very best neighborhoods in our locality and hired my daughter to to go to the tax records and literally put together a mailing list of every single address in those neighborhoods. Ultimately, 1,500 houses. And I said, well, that's going to be great. I'm going to be doing well. But I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. They talk about sphere of influence as well. And all the experts teach that, if you have a sphere of influence or circle of influence or whatever you want to call it, a network, a personal network, it needs to be about 50 people. And if you continue to work that, stay in front of them with a newsletter and call them monthly and what have you, then they will send you enough business to be covered up in business just by a network of 50 people. So I said, well, gosh, I went into my database and I said, I already have like 182 people that, that know me and love me, or at least act like they do.
Right.
That's before Facebook. And, having 1,000 friends and you don't know but 100 of them, So I had this 186 or 180, I guess 182 people in the sphere of influence, and I said, okay, well, that's great. I'll send them postcards and newsletters and whatnot. Awesome. The real estate company I went to work with was a builder, so I had read in a lot of the studying that I did that sitting in model homes was a good way to generate new business. So I thought, okay, well, whenever I'm not doing one of these other things, I'll be sitting in a model home, and then I'll volunteer for floor duty, and essentially every kind of lead generation scheme known to man at the time. So
what,
I got my license.
Yeah. So what'd you figure out? So I mean, I know what you're illustrating is you tried all the stuff that everybody's did talk about in '02, and they're still talking about today. So let's get to the what you figured out and what's different.
Okay. Well, here's what happened: is I jumped in full bore, and doing virtually all of it, and essentially nothing happened. I'm expecting this full out of business, and essentially nothing happened. And I go, I'm in trouble. And I'm used to making really good money. I was making about $300,000 when I got out of the automotive business, and had enough savings to live comfortably for 6 months. And I thought easily I could transition into real estate, and I would be willing to just make a simple 6 figures. Well, I was on my way to making about $30,000, and I said, something is bad wrong here. And I looked around, and I didn't think that any of the other agents were particularly that much smarter than me, and more talented than me. I said, something is bad wrong here. Where'd the customers go? And I got to think, and finally I just said, I had like one of those private come to Jesus meetings where I said, something's got to give. Maybe I made a bad mistake, maybe I didn't. Anyways, after a day of just kind of thinking it through, I realized that what I was doing, although it might have been well intentioned, it wasn't where the customers were. And so through the thought process, I said, everybody I know is online now. And I said, a lot of businesses have been changed completely by the internet. I had a friend that was he had a whole bunch of travel agencies, made over $1 million a year. Okay, in Atlanta area with travel agencies, and all of a sudden the internet came along, and Travelocity, and all the various ones, and boom, he was almost like out of business overnight. I noticed that bookstores are closing right and left, and I said,
absolutely. I mean, I think we would all agree. Technology's come out that it's intermediated Barnes and Nobles for the most part. Bookstores became non-existent with Amazon. Travel agents got disintermediated. But again, so let's get to So what did you learn? How did you modify? How did you use the online piece of building out your real estate business?
Well, at the time, remember, this is 2002. Everybody had a website, but virtually nobody got any business from it because the websites were designed to deliver information. They were like an online business card.
Yeah, I mean, back in 2002, right, I agree with you. So back in 2002, it was really Web 1.0, and it was very much static pages. Web 2 came out, and Web 2 was really when, the sites allowed, back and forth. Allow, this is similar to Yelp, right? So people are coming and talking about their experiences, and so it's a little bit more technical with Web 2, and now we're moving into a world of Web 3. So, I think we get that. I'm trying to help us understand how you kind of used the internet or online to your benefit.
Well, I looked for something, having a sales background, I looked for something that was going to actually capture customers, not just deliver information to them, but I wanted there to be a value exchange. If I'm going to give them information, I want in return, I'm happy to give them the information. I'm happy to give them an MLS search for homes, but I want something in return. I want their contact information.
Yep.
So And at that time, nobody had ever even heard of such a thing. I looked everywhere for a website like that. There wasn't any. Finally, I decided, well, I guess I'm going to have no choice but to build one. So we built one, and the original, nowadays they have things called squeeze pages, I think is a common term. Essentially, it is like a web version of direct response marketing. So it's a way that a customer comes in and registers on a page, and then gets access to what's behind the registration. So at the time, nobody was doing that. I mean, it hadn't even been thought of, apparently, because you couldn't find it. And so I basically came up with a very simple, what we call an LCM, a lead capture module, and put it on the website. And all of a sudden, I went from having no customers to having more business so I could spend. And literally took that one agent practice in a matter of months, wound up having so much business. And I was in the early stages, I was afraid to turn it off because I thought, I have hit the mother lode and I don't want to change anything. Turn it off because I'll never get it back on again. I'll be broke. So anyways,
no, so hold on, just so I'm clear and the audience is clear. So essentially, squeeze pages or landing pages or whatever. So you landed on that early. Is that what you're saying?
Right, very early, like 02.
Okay, yeah, that is very. So with that, I mean, you can create. I mean, even today, agents are really behind in understanding what lead pages are, lead magnets, right? The whole value exchange that you're talking about. I think that's something that's low hanging fruit for folks. But I can have the best design page. With a lead magnet on it, right? On my site, for example, I allow you to download an ebook in exchange for email address, but you still have to get traffic there. So how I don't necessarily want to talk about O2, but today let's get to present day. So you figured that out. What is your ultimate website system look like today, Matt?
Well, about 75, roughly 3/4 of the business generated, worldwide, primarily North America, U.S. and Canada, although we've had some agents from other countries, but primarily North America. 75% of the business being generated system-wide right now, the leads being generated, are coming from free advertising on Craigslist. So they're not having to spend a dime. Now, in the early days, there wasn't, we didn't have that. I think Craigslist was pretty new about then, and nobody had thought about it, and we certainly hadn't thought about it until several years after that. But so we were doing pay-per-click advertising. Basically any way you get traffic to the website, and of course we put website on everything, on yard signs, on business cards, but really the bulk of it was coming through pay-per-click advertising. And some agents still augment, or they'd rather not spend the time doing the Craigslist ads. The way that we teach our agents, a very specific way, where if you've got good lead capture, if you don't have good lead capture, if you have a typical real estate website, essentially Craigslist is going to generate you nothing. But if you've got very effective lead capture, then, and the reason it gets you, let me back up just a little bit. If the typical real estate website captures, I think the latest stat is 0.87% of the visitors, of unique visitors that come to it, less than 1%. Okay? If you're capturing 1% and your Craigslist ad's only going to generate 50 clicks to it, then you're not going to get a lead because you don't have enough volume in order to catch. But if you have an efficient capture rate, and our ultimate website captures roughly, the market to market's different. The more expensive the market, typically the lower the capture rate. But it captures anywhere from 25 to 35%. Well, now all of a sudden you get 50 clicks to your website off of a Craigslist ad, and now you're talking about 10 or 12 leads. That's a huge difference. So efficiency captured.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you increase that conversion just by having a well-designed page, I think everybody can understand that, that logic. So, but again, look, I'm on your site right now, and for everybody, if you want to check it out, it's lcmsuccess.com, and I'm looking at your first tab, which is the ultimate website. So what is a website that works? What does that actually look like?
Well, when we talk about the ultimate website, it's essentially a system of all the essential technologies an agent needs today.
Okay.
And that's going to include web lead capture, like we just talked about, a website that actually has very efficient LCM gateway technology. It has social integration, so it connects to Facebook for your sphere of influence marketing as well, and does lead capture through Facebook as well. But more importantly, it includes some of the other technologies. While 94% of real estate shoppers begin online, still there are plenty of others that are not online, or that are also on the telephone. And so we've got both the phone lead capture, what used to be called IVR technology, interactive voice response, where they call a hotline and we capture the lead, even if they have caller ID blocked. So we have that also integrated to the system. We also have the text lead capture, like you're driving down the road and you see a yard sign and it has a flyer that says, for pictures and more information, text this number, and it'll send them back all the pictures and everything to their cell phone.
Right. So, but and all that's great stuff. But hold on. So let's go back to the website. So okay. When you say you have, again, tell us what that looks like. I know you said you integrate social, but I think, is that more than just having a link to your Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook sites? Because I think most people do that today.
Yeah, no, it is integrated social, but to your question, okay, you've got a typical, of course, some of the things that are different about the website, just from the website itself, that make it a huge difference, is instead of going to an I Love Me page, which, frankly, let's face it, they're just not into us. They're not that into us, okay? They're into what they're looking for. They're into houses. They're into searching, okay? So the first thing we do different is we actually start right at the search. When they come to our website, they're going to come to the search, okay? We got tired of having second-rate IDX driven, and I don't know if you're familiar with the term IDX.
Oh yeah.
But it's okay. Well, rather than just a simple IDX solution, we thought, let's face it, there are sites out there like Zillow, Trulia, that frankly have a lot more than what an IDX search is going to have. So we thought, instead of trying to compete straight up with the Zillows and the Trulias and the Realtor.coms, and on top of that have an inferior search that somebody's not going to stay on, what would happen if we actually made an aggregation search site that allowed someone with one location to access all the top sites, and then overlaid with it school information from great schools, which basically, is a database of ratings for all the schools in just about anywhere in North America, in terms of not only private or public schools, but private schools as well, and overlay that, and also overlay the National Sex Offender Registry, which I don't know about you, but if I'm gonna, I've got school-age kids, and I'm gonna move on I'm gonna want to see if we've got sex offenders on the street, so all of that together on one search, and better yet, they don't have to pay, $25 or $50 or whatever the IDX is charging them a month to have all of that information. So that's part of their search. So. that's included. So that's different.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
But so hold on, Matt. Look, when you are building a website or when you're building your business, you're building a business on one, you're targeting buyers, you're targeting sellers. Now, so is the stuff you're talking about here, it sounds to me it's very buyer focused rather than seller focused.
Well, it's actually both. Actually, what we found and doing this and listen, I'm a listing agent at heart. My first year in the business, I listed 114 properties.
Wow.
That's a fairly significant number. Okay?
Absolutely.
And that's one kitchen table at a time. So I'm very much seller focused. One of the things we have figured out, though, is that people identify when they begin their real estate, when they're starting to change their housing situation. Okay, they generally go on a real estate search site and begin looking for the replacement prior to listing the existing home. Actually,
that's interesting.
Statistically, just over roughly 55% of all buyers are also sellers. Now, obviously, 40% of buyers, that's the number nationally, that is first-time home buyers. Roughly 40% are. Okay, so that means of the 60% that are obviously first-time home buyers are not sellers. Okay, so, but they're first-time home buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Of the other 60%, a large number of them are either moving up, and so they're selling one, or there are those investors, and some investors are accumulating property, so they're not continuing. Some people are buying a second home, a beach house, a vacation, a house in the mountains or whatever. Okay, some are buying a second beach home and selling the first one. So when it all sinks down, it's roughly 55% of all buyers are also sellers. Now, if you're in San Diego and they come to your website as a buyer in San Diego, they may not be selling a house in San Diego. They may be selling a house in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Yep.
Okay? That's not a problem. I mean, in fact, as a listing agent, I would much rather have, I find out that guy's selling in North Carolina, I'm going to talk to that, I'm going to talk to him and say, well, listen, before you go just put your house on the market with Amy Yo-Yo, let me do some work for you and find an agent that I know will do a good job for you, because all agents aren't created equal. Now I've got a referral, and I'm going to get a commission on the referral. I'm not going to do any listing.
Right.
Furthermore, I build value with my buyer, and
you get a referral fee. So no, I
get the
I get it. I think we all get it, and I love the model. I mean, I love that you're using percentages, and that you said something interesting that if somebody is going to list their house, they start with a buy process, and that's the first time somebody said that on the show, and that makes a ton of sense to me. Because you are going to look and hey, I'm going to downsize or upside, so I'm going to look at what my options are before I list my home. So I think that's really insightful. So again, what can our audience, what can you leave our audience with what should they be doing on their website to make it more effective? What can they do with lead capture on their site, and then we'll move into some of the phone stuff.
Okay. Well, obviously they can't. As I shared with you earlier, my system right now is on a wait list, so they can't get it from me. Although, you could give them a link later if you want, where they can download a step-by-step how to build it, and that's free. It's no obligation, and they can get on the wait list. But in the meantime, some of what is in that detailed white paper, one of the things they can do for sure is get hold of a website that's a WordPress website, because search engines like it better.
Yep.
Okay. Use a WordPress platform. When we built the Oklahoma website, we on purpose went with a WordPress platform. Now, if you're not a geek, WordPress is kind of intimidating, and a lot of agents are not geeks. And so we built a very user-friendly on ours. a very user interface that makes it simple.
Well, it makes it simple to do. Well, hold on.
They could do it themselves. They could take the time to learn it themselves, or they could hire, a local kid that's smart on computers to do it for them.
Yep.
Okay. The next thing they need to do is they need to get lead. Well, we recommend they go to somebody and get something that is like our LCM. Like a squeeze page, and there's a company called Lead Pages. We would recommend that then use a company like that.
Yep, that's leadpages. Just for everybody, that's leadpages.net, not .com. But absolutely, yep. So okay, so I'm going to go to and tell us this is a great question here. I'm patting my own self on the back, but how can people utilize, so lead pages are landing pages. So tell us how somebody can go to Lead Pages, spend $39, get one, and they're easy to build. How does somebody use it sorry, I'm rambling, Matt. How does somebody use a Lead Pages
product? How do you use it with your website?
Yes, that's right.
Well,
perfect.
Well, essentially you want to have your lead capture in the customer path between your advertising or your, where the customer's coming, in the customer path between it and your website. Now, some people say, well, you should give them 3 or 4, free searches and then pop that up. Well, I think that's malarkey. Anybody that teaches that hasn't ever done this, okay? Because never at any point in the entire search process, online search process, is interest higher than when they first click on your ad.
Yep.
Okay, you're not going to build value by letting them have, giving them 3 free searches, and then I know people teach that because they don't want them to see a registration form right out of the gate.
And I'll tell you, hold on. Here's the deal. I just want to say something. What I have found, so nobody likes light boxes. Nobody likes those pop-ups that says, "Hey, give us your email to access this content." But Lead Pages did a ton of work, and they have found, and I'm going to put one on my site. I just haven't gotten around to it. Those pop-up boxes or light boxes are effective. They work. They absolutely
work.
Yeah. Okay. So
they almost double. When we went from a static one to a light box in our design, we almost double lead capture.
Unbelievable.
You know why? Because they can see what's underneath there. They just can't get to it.
Yeah.
So they know and they even might sit there and look at it for a second. If you look at you can look at the thermal mapping and everything. What they do, if you've got good analytics on your website, you can see exactly what they're doing, what the buyers are doing, and they come on there. Even if they hesitate for a few moments, they're looking through, the background image that's semi-opaque to see what's on there. And interest will never be higher than it is at that moment.
Yep.
So why not now? They say, but most of the customers will leave. That's right, they will. I'm not in the business of supporting freeloaders.
Yeah, there you go. Let them bounce.
Where is it written someplace where is it written that I have to support all the freeloaders?
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it costs, getting into my site doesn't cost money, but it costs a registration.
So let me.
One of the things that we do.
Hold on, real quick. So now we're getting to the good stuff. So first of all, to look at bounce rates and time spent on site. This is analytics. Where can somebody? So they have a WordPress site now. You can get Google Analytics. Is that all people need? Is the free Google Analytics, or is there another?
I think, yeah. I mean, listen, most of them are not going to use the information anyways. Let's be honest. Okay,
yeah.
So, I hate to see them spend money for a ton of analytics. I mean, yes, could you get it? Yeah, you can get really fancy analytics, and you can spend the next 6 years analyzing the 15 people that came to your website, and you're not going to do any business.
Yeah.
And agents typically, agents have a tendency, when it comes to calling back leads, they would rather study it a little bit more and make it a little more perfect, rather than do the hard part, which is calling leads and maybe get rejected.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm a fan of, let's just get the necessary analytics. Let's don't, and you can get them for free with Google Analytics. So why spend money for fancy ones?
Yep.
Now, I'm sure that listen, and I'll bet you that Amazon.com's got the best analytics going.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they got a whole department analyzing that stuff. Okay. And that's what they get paid, is to analyze. But we get paid as realtors to do transactions. And if we're sitting there analyzing, our 15 customers that came to our website, first off, even if we had flawless information, the sample size is so small it's meaningless to us.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody should have a WordPress site. Get Google Analytics, and look, if you're not technical enough to know how to cut and paste that or where to do that on your pages, you can go to Fiverr. There's lots of places you can go and hire somebody really cheap, Odesk, right. Elance to do that for you. I just want to make one comment. I know this is your interview, so I apologize, but I normally don't talk this much, but a lot of the stuff that you may be saying is going to go over lots of people's heads. So going back to that Lightbox, and how to get one, I use Aweber, and through Aweber, I am able to pop up a Lightbox on my site. If somebody says, "Hey, I want to put a gate to my content," and I want to use a Lightbox, where can people go, and what's the easiest way for people to implement that?
Well, what I do is the easiest way to do it is to put a redirect script, and you'd have to hire a that way you can have the people to go directly to your website. Let's say it's www.favoriteagent.com. Okay, if they go to favoriteagent.com and they've never been there before, the first time they're going to be redirected by that little redirect. It basically says, "Hey, do I see a cookie on their computer?" Mm-hmm. A cookie being the little, the
tracking,
the little tracking device that gets us the ads about stuff we care about instead of stuff we don't care about.
Yep.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with them. It makes your life easier.
Yep.
Makes your internet shopping better. Okay.
Now, sorry. Again, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So, in terms of those cookies, that's another plugin, right? I have to put a plugin and say, "Hey, I want you to track all my users' cookies," correct or no?
No. Well, basically, all we do is we would put it on the landing page, and our people would help you do it. Using if you're using our ultimate website, we would do it for you. Okay. Well, we put a script that basically said, "First time through, go here." After that, and register. Okay, and we also, a couple of things about the registration is we require, people give us grief about this, but we require an email address and a phone number. And we send them the password by text. Now, why do you think we do that? They're not going to give me a bogus phone number.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's part of the secret sauce, okay? So, it virtually eliminates bogus phone numbers.
Got it.
And listen, let's face it, nobody's going to get spammed into a transaction, okay?
Right.
I know people love drip campaigns because people are basically lazy. I'm lazy, okay? But I know that drip campaigns don't work. There's lots and lots and tons of data on it, okay? Your initial contact needs to be I'm talking about real estate, okay? Now, on low-ticket items, drip campaigns probably work great.
Yep.
Somebody's going to buy a $200,000 house, they're not going to be spammed into it.
I agree. Well, let me just say one thing on drip campaigns. I think if it's an actual campaign, if it's a targeted campaign, I think it can work. I think that, if you have a FSBO or an expired channel in your business and, a FSBO comes up on your radar in the morning and you do whatever you do to get their email address, I think doing a 5 or 6 part campaign saying, "Hey, this is why your house expired," right? Or most houses expired, and boom, 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 and then the end is like, "Hey, this is why you should hire me." I think there's a certain percentage of conversion that will happen with that.
Sure, it is a great way to brand yourself. Okay, it's it is not direct response. In other words, I mean, at some point, you're going to have to actually break the ice and speak to the person, at least in real estate. Now, I think it's probably great for. Remember how during the Gulf War, remember how they spent several days of carpet bombing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they weren't really even so much trying to kill anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, they were. I believe they were actually bombing some areas where there were nobody to be killed. They were bombing the top of bunkers that basically couldn't. People were down in there. And why did they do that? Because it set up the campaign that followed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in terms of using it as a setup for your campaign to follow, it's great. It's great for branding. It's building awareness of your name, your brand, and maybe even creating a propensity for them to like you. But at the end of the day, real estate is a personal thing. They're going to have to meet you, and the sooner they meet you and like you, the great thing is 3/4 of them are going to work with the first agent that they talk to.
Yeah.
If you don't run them off.
80%.
So just talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just talk to them. So and so that's why we get the phone number, because you can call them, and I know a lot of agents hate that, but that's the secret to actually doing a lot of transactions. You show me somebody doing lots of transactions, they're not scared of the phone.
Yeah, I agree. And look, so if you get their cell phone, if you ask, and what's funny is if you put that, so you put up that light box name, and instead of just phone number, put cell phone, right? Like cue them into saying, giving you what they need, and then you text. I guess
Right. Right, mobile phone, it has a question mark, says, like if they hover over, like, why a mobile phone? You say, so we can text you. Or, in fact, I think we actually put that in the language now. We're always testing. We have A/B testing going on all the time.
Mm.
And I think that and because customer buying habits change. So we're constantly testing. But I think we may have actually just changed the wording where it says, number to text, password to.
Oh, right.
So it kind of explains the why right there.
So,
and it tells them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I want to know two things. One, how do you, and this goes kind of back to the Abe Weber thing. So I'm going to ask you a two-part question. One is, so I have a redirect script. I'm directing first-time visitors to this light box name, and I say, hey, number to text, password. What service do you use to automatically drop that text to their phone?
We actually do it in-house.
You do it in-house, okay.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if there are services that do that or not.
Okay, I'm sure there is.
I don't know.
I think that having a cell phone number and being able to market or speak to your database via text is extremely valuable. Huge. Because, when's the last, there's lots of emails I don't open, but I've opened 100% of my texts.
You do.
Everybody does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. It's huge.
So
that it's absolutely critical.
So what does a text marketing campaign look like for you guys?
Well, we don't have an automated text marketing. We essentially don't do any direct, and that would just be essentially a text version of a direct campaign. So we don't do it. Philosophically, we want our agents to be actually putting their mind. We don't want an automated message going to somebody, because most of the time, you get an automated message in the mail. Most of the time, you're 5 words into it and you realize it's a campaign. It's not for you.
Right.
As long as you're legit about that, that's fine. And everybody's quoting me. I get like a daily blast from several different websites, and I get them on purpose, and I look at them real quick, and I know I'm only one of a million people getting it. That's fine. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But the ones that kill me are the ones that pretend to be all personal and sweet, and they just do a bad job at it. And that moves the relational ball the wrong direction down the field.
Okay.
So, I would rather, if I'm going to send out a campaign of some sort, I would rather it be impersonal. Like even like we have a training blast I send out every day, and it goes, "Dear reader." They know they're one of a whole bunch. I have their names. I could put "Dear Joe," and I could put I could put the mail merge, and I could put, I could manage to leave into the paragraph someplace the name of their company, but I'm not going to insult their intelligence.
Yeah, and look, I think there's, in addition to that, Matt, I think there's another challenge with mailing your list from the light boxes. And here's the deal. So when people put name, they might give you all their stuff, and if you make them give you your cell phone to receive the password, they're going to give you a correct password, but you're going to get a fake name. They're going to say, "Hey, I'm,
Donald Duck."
Donald Duck,
or words that we can't put on the air.
Exactly right. So, and I think that's a risk that if you just blindly say, "Oh, I'm going to mail my list," you're going to go, "Hey, butthole," because that's how they registered.
Right.
I want to tell you about this great thing. So yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Right. So, but now. Another thing they need to do, besides the lead capture, that's great. I think they need to have I believe, a blog.
Okay.
Okay. And the blog is good for two reasons. Number one, for an agent, it builds their credibility in the marketplace. Okay. They're an expert. They become the resident expert. Okay. But here's the problem with blogs. Blogging is like flossing. Everybody knows they should do it, and nobody does it.
Right.
Okay. So what I said is, how can we fix that problem for agents? And we decided to come up with an auto blog. Since we already had one arm of our company is News Genius, which is a real estate news and best practices website that that has a daily mailing to like 800,000 realtors.
Wow.
Nationwide every day.
Are you serious?
Okay.
You have 800,000?
Maybe a little more. But
wow. That's amazing.
Sure. So yes, but anyways, we send that out every day, and of course our editors constantly finding new content, and we decided, why don't we just add some consumer? This is all it's all agent centric. We said, what if we came up with some consumer centric articles, and then we could automatically tie those into the website. So anybody that if they get on my waiting list, I give them permission in joining the waiting list. They can, I'm afraid I'm not aware of anybody else out there that has a real estate related auto blog. And shortly after we did, probably 6 months after we did it, Zillow started doing an auto blog that they give to their agents, but their agents unfortunately have to spend about $1,000 to $3,000 a month to get the free.
Oh wow, that is crazy.
Okay, but we appreciated it, I guess, in a sense, because invitation is the sincerest form of flattery. But anyways, we can't give you the auto blog, but we can at least solve the writing block thing for you. About anybody that gets on our wait list is welcome to come and copy, just copy and paste the articles that come up on mine. Automatically, they can copy and paste into their blog, so they're never without content.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a little more work, sure. But at least they don't have to dream up the content, go looking for it, and then post it. This way they can have a system down every day. They check, boom, copy and paste, they're done.
Yeah. I think that, and look, here's one thing. So we kind of have a blog because we release these episodes individually, and then we write show notes. We'll have show notes, specific show notes for you this particular episode. And one thing our developers did was it was really cheap, like for $100 or something. Our developers wrote a script, and what that script does is it basically keywords, we put in our keywords that we want, right, for Google search, number one, and number two,
mm-hmm.
It somehow will read the page and add and take the words that we're using and throw it up as a meta tag individually, page by page, so that when you do a search, Google can see that, not just our site, but individual pages. And I think that if you do the cut and paste for a blog and have a script like that, and you're writing,
that could be huge.
Could be huge with the right keywords that are focused on your local market area.
Exactly. And if you did that, then you would go screaming to the top, because your website would have more content than any other real estate website in your market.
Yep. In
short order. Okay? And lots of content, and it's varied content, and as long as it also had local tie-in, then you'd be, when they search for real estate San Diego, bam, it wouldn't take long before you'd be at the at the first page.
Yeah.
Even though there are thousands and thousands and thousands of real estate websites. And
the other thing I would say, and I'd like to get your take on this, Matt, is that Google, with search, they obviously their Google Plus product is a social product, and I have found that whatever you put on your Google Plus, your G Plus page, it ranks crazy high, like out of the gate.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I need to explore that.
Yeah, and what I was thinking was if you took
That's a great tip. I need to look into that.
For sure. And I was thinking if you took your long-form blog and then maybe condensed it into a shorter Google Plus page, focusing on local keywords, local market keywords, I think you can get to the top really. I mean, literally, look, I'll tell you this. So real estate coach, right? That's a big term. People pay for those AdWords.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I did a post and I put in there real estate coach on a G Plus post, and literally like 5 days later, it was like, if you do that search, just a real estate coach, big long tail, search, it was like Brian Buffini, Mike Ferry, Toby Salgado, because it was on G Plus.
That's awesome.
So anyhow, so
I guess they're spidering their own pages, huh?
Yeah. So
and giving a higher relevance to them.
Well, and I'll tell you what. So part of our keywords for our show is, we have Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, we have all the big name coaches, we have Zillow, we have, so that's important. If you said Zillow San Diego and then put in your content, you're going to rank higher just because that's so right. Real quick, Matt, how far are we in here? We have to start wrapping up, man. 47 minutes. What email, if you have a big list, and this is not a problem that most people are going to have, but you have 800,000 emails, what mail provider do you use to mail that?
Actually, we built our own.
You built your own?
We built our own, and we basically send it from, I don't know how much of this, or I'll just tell you, and you may want to leave some of this on the cutting room floor, I don't know.
No, tell
us. But we basically put together, using two computers, built 500 servers, got 500 IP addresses, and delivery is a huge problem right now, getting in the inbox, as you know.
Yep.
Okay? And so what we have found is that there are lots of tripwires out there, and of course nobody will tell you what they are because then spammers would defeat them. Mm-hmm. But what we did is we found that if you mail no more than 2 a minute from any IP address, you're not a bulk sender. So we have this huge list. We have 500 servers all cranking out. Now, you think 500 servers, you should be able to do your list in 5 minutes. No, it takes us 23 hours to send our entire list.
Wow. Now,
because we're rotating, and we're in real time serving up a variety of subject lines, and we feature different articles within our daily training. In other words, there are a lot of different things that we do. So we can't just send a simple message there has to be lots of variations. Otherwise, you're a bulk sender and you go to the spam folder. Yeah.
Well, so when you say you have 500 servers, I mean, do you literally have like a warehouse with servers, or are they cloud-based?
No. We have 2 computers And on those two computers, they each one have 250. Because all that, remember, those little virtual servers don't have to do but one thing, and that's mail something every 30 seconds.
Got it.
So
Wow.
we basically have two boxes that have 500 virtual servers on them. And those computers are running, got a lot of RAM, and they're running nonstop.
Look, I have to ask you. I mean, how in the world? I mean, you were a mechanic. You had 12 auto repair dealerships. How do you go from wrenching on carburetors or mufflers? I'm just from having to being like a really tech guy.
Well, think about it. You have my automotive background was automatic transmissions. And we had transmission, computer control, overdrive transaxles, that have 700 parts in them. They weren't. So it's very technical, and you have to know what you're talking about. You have to know what you're doing. You can't. This is not something you can just let's try the starter on this one, Bo.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe it's just a thought. You have to actually understand fluid flow and pressures, and hydraulics and electronics, and so it's very technical. And if you get right down to it, diagnosing and repairing is essentially understanding how something works and reverse engineering. And so it was really kind of a natural thing. Yeah, the tools are different. The tools are, HTML code and JavaScript and what have you. The tools are different, okay? But what you do is you have a problem. You say, I need it to do this. This is what I need the end result to be. And you back into it, and you put the pieces together. That's how we built the mail server. We said, this is what the end result's got to be. We've got to have this many different unique things going because we can't hit the tripwires.
Mm.
And so, that's how we did it.
Got it. Okay, I love it. Well, listen,
we identify the problem and then solve it. So
I could probably talk with you for another hour, but we're kind of running along. But so I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to wrap up with the same three questions I ask everybody. So I'm curious what we're going to say. So here's the first one, Matt. For you, you've had this rich, varied background. For you, who has been a mentor to you?
Gosh, I read lots and lots and lots and lots. I would say books, I hate to say it, but good old Zig Ziglar from a sales standpoint, I don't think you can beat that stuff.
Yeah.
Just some of the really great stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
From thinking like an entrepreneur, I think about the best guy out there, in my opinion, is Harvey McKay. And if one book I probably recommended to people more than any other book in my library of several thousand is Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. Old book. Talk about changing the way you think. Yeah. Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive.
Who wrote
by
that?
Harvey McKay.
Oh, by Harvey McKay.
McKay.
Okay. Well, listen, I'll tell you what.
And
go ahead.
The third one is Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week.
Why do you like that book? What is it about that book that you like?
I have to be honest with you. The title was off-putting. It was recommended to me.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm like anti-get-rich-quick scheme kind of guy, and that sounds like an Amway book.
Right.
No offense to my Amway listeners.
Right.
Okay, but it sounds like a scheming type get-rich-quick. It's anything but that.
Yep.
They title it that way so that they would sell books.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have to tell you, it undid me. We were working hard at the whole IPO track, and I at the time I read that book, I had about 150 employees.
Wow.
And we had about 8,000 square feet, and I mean huge bills. I mean, it's a treadmill. It's a giant treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I got into real estate to get simple, and here I am huge. Okay. And I read that book on the way to my parents' house for Christmas. And first off, it ticked me off because the guy's like 30 and he's figured all this stuff out.
Yeah.
And then more than that, it resonated such that I said, damn, I wish I'd have said, I should. That's exact, you when you read a book and everything in it, you just know it resonates. That's dead on.
Yep.
And it just lined up with everything. And in terms of changing priorities and everything, mission, completely rearranged all that stuff. Now I have like half a dozen employees. Okay, which is probably part of why we're on a wait list, but oh well.
Yeah, no, and I think there's lots of good stuff in there. I read the book obviously, and every entrepreneur should read that book. And some of the stuff that I got out of it was like, hey, what are some of the things that you're spending time on that it's just busy work, right? That you shouldn't be spending time on. Right. And what can you outsource? I was like, one of the things that was good that I got out of it was like, hey, you know what? Everything's the 80-20 rule. The clients that are sucking up your time, like fire them. Get rid of them. They're not worth it.
Right.
Well, and the other tip I liked in there was a travel tip, and he was like, "Hey, if you never want for your luggage to be lost, go buy a starter gun from Big Five, and when and tell them, hey, that you have a locked gun in there, and they will never lose your luggage if you tell them you have a gun."
Yeah.
All right. So
I'd say those three.
Okay, so those are good. And listen, audience, if you haven't read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, if you haven't read Swimming with Sharks by Harvey McKay, get a free copy on us. Just use our link, audibletrial.com/superagentslive, and get a free copy. My last question for you, Matt, and I'm interested in this, is do you have a personal habit that you feel has contributed to your success?
Yeah, I think so. I basically I'm very routine oriented. I get up first thing in the morning. I have a quiet time, a devotional time, and I also go run, some sort of exercise, generally running.
Yeah.
Occasionally be bike ride, but generally, an hour of endorphin is a good thing as well. So
I love it, and I'll give you a book, man. Or a book recommendation. I don't know if you've read it. It's called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Have you read that one?
I haven't.
Go get it, man.
Awesome.
He talks about the morning routine. It's funny, it is silence, in just exactly what you said. So there's 7 things. There's silence. There's exercise, and then he recommends that you do some affirmations, that you do some journaling, and then some visioneering for yourself. So, hey, man, listen, Matt, I always encourage my audience, if they've gotten anything out of this episode, to reach out and say thank you. Where can people find you?
They can email me at matt.jones@favoriteagent.com.
Got it. Perfect.
I answer my own emails.
And all that stuff, guys, if you're riding your bike, walking your dog, or driving, just go to our website, superagentslive.com, and all this stuff will be on the show notes. Our fabulous writer, Luis, is going to create something good out of this one. I know he is. So I'll be the first guy to kick off the thank you train, Matt. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to come on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
All right, buddy.
It's a pleasure.
Let's keep in touch.
All right, bye-bye.
Let's go.